Hello, and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. Today's video is sponsored by Amazon affiliate link, which you'll see in the description below. You'll also see in the description below any links to videos I mentioned in this video. So today I'm going to talk to you about frequent repotters. These are plants that tend to need more frequent repotting than other plants. Many houseplants can grow in the same pot for years and years, especially if you're taking good care of them, you're watering them correctly, you're giving them some fertilizer. If you top dress occasionally, I have a video on top dressing, which refers to adding soil to the top of the plant, which can get you through time periods when you really need to be repotting, but you don't have time. So these are some of those plants that do need more frequent repotting. So I know that repotting takes some time, it takes some forethought, it takes planning. You have to get the right size pots, etc., which I have videos on as well, and all your materials, and then repotting them. It's good to do the repotting in groups, so because of all the preparation and things that you have to do. So if you are doing some prioritizing, however, and you want to figure out which plants are going to need to be repotted more frequently, these are some of those frequent repotters. This is Lucy, spider plant that's been in many videos. She is doing really well, and spider plants, when they are doing really well, and she is coming on, not quite yet, but within the next month or so, she's going to need to be repotted. So spider plants will grow really nicely. They'll get the daughter plants, that hang when you get the stem that hangs down, and you get a new plant at the end. So when growing well, and this one was a revival, so she's taken a little bit of time, but now she's doing really well. When they're growing really well, they will tend to outgrow their pots faster than some plants. Another one, the frequent repotters, is the African violets. So the standard size, also the mini African violets you can see here, they need frequent repotting quite a bit. Now the African violets, the spider plant, and a lot of plants, the reason why they need the frequent repotting is because they outgrow their pots fairly readily. They suck out nutrients from the soil while they're doing that. The main reason why you want to repot African violets, generally speaking, you may be going up a little bit of a pot size, but the main reason is they because of their beautiful flowers that they create, they do tend to suck up all the nutrients in soil, even when you fertilize, which you want to do regularly with African violets as well. So they really respond to being repotted, and on a regular basis. Try to aim for every 6 months minimum, because if you go a year, you're going to be finding that the plant is, no matter how much you're fertilizing, is just not flowering for you very much anymore, or at all. So I don't think you really have to go as extreme as every 3 months, but you could aim for 4 to 6 months, especially if the plant is doing a lot of flowering for you and really doing a good job at that. Now, that would be for standard 4 to 6. However, for the mini guys, I would say every 3 months is a really good rule of thumb. Fortunately, they're small plants, so it doesn't take too long to repot them quickly. Other frequent repotters, the palm. This guy was recently repotted because he had been really needing to be repotted. So he's still a little yellowy because he needed to be repotted, and he was repotted in a prior video. So he is greening up. However, he's got some new shoots in there. So palms love to be repotted frequently. They really suck up the nutrients in the pots, and they will start to yellow if you don't. So with them, about every 6 months or so, they really do need to go up another pot size. When you get into really big pots and the really big palms, you can probably go longer than that, but they will need to be repotted at some point. Another one that does, when it's growing really nicely, another revival that was done, this is the philodendron. It's a lime colored philodendron, leafed philodendron. Those two will need to be repotted more regularly. And then we have Pothos, which Pothos, the nice thing about Pothos, so the vining one here, is that you don't have to repot Pothos. It will be fine in the same pot for years and years and years, but it won't grow a whole lot. You repot Pothos on a regular basis every 6 months or so, depending on the size of the pot, and it will grow like crazy for you. So this was a mixed planter that was made not too long ago, and this Pothos has tripled in size because of in response to the potting soil. So if you want generally most people want their Pothos to grow, it does tend to suck up nutrients from the soil as well, and it will do well if you repot it. Now, I mentioned pot size a little bit ago. So the smaller the pot size, the more frequent repotting you're going to do. Now, the reason for that is smaller plants tend to grow more quickly until they get to a more mature size, at which point they will slow down growth. They will continue to grow, but they will slow down growth some, so they won't need as much repotting. Okay, so corn plant, this is a Dracaena fragrans here, this beauty here. Another revival, it actually was in potting soil that the pH was off. So he's doing a lot better now since fixing that pH problem. These are a perfect example of what I'm talking about in terms of the smaller the pot with the Dracaena fragrans corn plant, the faster it will grow, the faster it will outgrow each pot, and the sooner you will have to repot. So that is another one. Another Dracaena here, another species, but this one too, same thing. You will, this is a Warneckia, you will need to repot the smaller Dracaenas when they're happy and when they're growing well, more frequently than some other plants. Croton, same thing. I have a nice one, big one here that's actually getting to the point where it needs to be repotted. And then this little guy was put in this mixed planter and has tripled in size since it was put in there. So another frequent repotter. One I don't have on here right now that does need a lot of more frequent repotting is a lot of ferns. Boston fern being one of the prime ones that would need more frequent repotting than some other types of plants. So those are some things to keep in mind when you're choosing plants, obviously, to know how often they would need repotting, and just to know if you so you can do a comparison, right? So maybe you repot a plant that grows slower, and say a maidenhair fern, which they do tend to grow, but they won't grow as crazily. So the maidenhair fern and the Boston fern will grow a lot faster. So even within plant types, you're going to have some differences. But say you have planted something and it's doing fine for a year, but then you have another thing like a palm that is, you just repotted it 6 months ago and it's starting to have problems. It may just be that it just needs a repotting. So after you go through all the other potentialities such as proper lighting and watering and fertilizing and all that sort of thing, and you determine that all that is good, then it's very, very well maybe time for repotting. Now, you may only need to repot in the same size pot again and just refresh the soil, because you do want to keep the 2/3 plant to 1/3 pot combination that I always talk about. You plot up into too big of a pot, and you are going to set the plant up for root rot. So, like I said, it may just be a fresh soil that the plant needs into the same size pot. If you've fallen in love with that pot, good news is you get to keep that pot, right? It may be that the plant needs just a little bit of a kick up into the next size pot, but you wouldn't be saying to yourself, okay, I'm really tired of repotting this palm tree every 6 months, so I'm gonna get in a humongous size pot so I won't have to do this for 5 years. Because what happens is the plant will succumb to root rot and it will not make it. So that is something to keep in mind. The right size pot, I have a whole repotting series too. I'll put the link below so you can check that out as well. So thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when we upload new videos.